Okay. I think, yeah, good. Very good. So I believe I'm running late on the stream and there's a bit of delay. But that's great. I think as long as we can get things covered for today, there's a bit of lag. I'm using the OBS for the first day, so it's great. So that being said, let's quickly start the session and see how it works. So the session is today is about open source APM, Elastic's open source APM. More importantly, if I have to tell you, it is more about for a developer to be more productive. How do you optimize your apps? More importantly, in the microservice world, in the Kubernetes world, in the world of getting applications Dockerized and getting more of toolified, if I have to tell you that. So more in that manner, how would you really help? How would you really do everything? So we are looking to do a faster Java apps with Elastic, open source Elastic APM, and the agenda is, here we go. We'll discuss about the stack, we'll discuss about what is APM, why APM, what it can do, the demo part. I'll show you a bit of demo, and so that you could also get started about how we look at it overall. So basically, what is Elastic? Elastic is a company behind a lot of open source software, but people use Elasticsearch or for various use cases. It's a search company, but definitely it could also be thought of something like you say, it could be used for observability, it could be used for security, for 1,000 of other use cases. People use it for searching love, searching malware, searching flights, a lot of other details, searching for adversaries and more important details. So we do 3 specific things more importantly, search, observability, and protection. The stack overall, lovely called as by community as ELK, Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana, wherein Elasticsearch is the heart and soul of this entire thing. We'll discuss more about this, the stack part, but basically there are 3 specific solutions. One is a search solution, which is called enterprise search. The other solution is called observability. The other solution is called security. So today we are going to focus on the observability part actually. So the Elastic stack basically is the whole and soul stack where Elasticsearch is a distributed NoSQL REST API based search engine, and Kibana is a visualizer which sits on top of Elasticsearch, which provides like a window into Elasticsearch. It's the UI which contains all of the things, helps you to do analytics, drag and drop. There is something called Lens through which you could do drag and drop analytics and a lot of things. Then you also have Beats and Logstash. What Beats and Logstash does is these are ingestion modules through which you will be able to ingest data into Elasticsearch. Now Beats is a data shipper. It can be used for different ways, and the Logstash is a kind of a ETL tool where you can extract the data, transform, and load into the specific area. Now the entire stack can be deployed anywhere. It's a platform agnostic tool. That means it can run on any cloud. It can be run on a lot of platforms except very few platforms like say Linux versions, but generally you can run Elastic Stack in majority of the platforms. And we have a SaaS solution as well through which you could run or deploy this service like Elasticsearch use it as like a service on Elastic Cloud. That's called Elastic Cloud. And then we also have a Kubernetes operator through which you could deploy this entire stack and then orchestrate on Kubernetes, which is like a cool thing to do in nowadays like Kubernetes world. So coming to the topic, what is APM? So people have a lot of discussions about application performance management or monitoring, but you might be tired of hearing all of this the definitions and solutions text-based thing. You might have a feeling like, okay, I did hear about it a lot of time, or this is not what I was expecting. So basically, I could definitely tell you more about application performance monitoring in a very interesting manner, in a bit of in a kind of interesting way to kind of understand more visually. So let us take a clean day, a day where you are on a Friday evening or on a Saturday morning where you have done your deployment and you are happily enjoying and the code is live, and the release is done. Weeks or months of work, or even years of work in sometimes, and then you're just happily chilling with your colleagues and thinking of making plans, say with your girlfriend or something like that. Then imagine this sort of error that you show on the screen, right? What happens is you would literally see that there is an internal server error. This is like probably a screen that no developer would like to see on their application, where you see that 500 internal 500 HTTP code, and then the server doesn't respond. And then you immediately try to, while you are in the party mode, you have gone out to bring the pizzas, or like try to do that. Your colleagues try to douse the fire and try to make sure that things are in play, and then simply like you would get to feel, press all the knobs, try to find out what's working, what's not working, and you would feel like, why don't shit really work, and like, why don't it work, right? I'm doing everything possible. And then like you would open, and then when you try to fix at least one of these, what happens is like you would see this rotating round bar. What happens in this rotating round bar is, we all know, like the page doesn't load, and we kind of like see things happening in a different manner. Then and then when you finally open all of these, right, when you finally open each of these to look at what's really happening in that log, what's happening with my heap space, what is the internet, right, the regular debugging flow which happens in any situation, and you would finally come to this stage, right? Debugging is done, right? The developer debugging, and like after doing like 2 months or like a lot of sprints of effort, and then you might have hit up with a silly bug, and then like you would have turned up into this stage. So basically this is a place where APM would really help. I'm not trying to like push in a specific, okay, here comes a savior or a hero, but what I'm trying to explain you in this manner is APM plays a very vital role in debugging, or also called as the new standard, which is called as observability, like the 360-degree visualization or understanding of your infrastructure, be it cloud infrastructure, your own private data center infrastructure, any sort of infrastructure. So basically APM plays a vital role. It's one of the pillars in the kind of the observability. Now I've been talking about APM, the word APM, but what is it? It's called it now on the screen. You could see that it is called as tracing. Now what is tracing, how it is different from APM? So don't worry, tracing is otherwise called as APM as well, otherwise called different names like distributed tracing, with different things, right? So what I would definitely suggest you to take a look at is don't look it with a different eye. Tracing is also integral part of the APM that I'm talking about, the open source APM. So Elastic Stack is already popular, the open source stack and everything is already popular for collecting, logging and metrics. So APM is just another index where you need to ingest this data and put into the stack so that you could do a lot of things. Now I have literally covered the conceptual like in part in a visualization manner, but still, right, you would like to know more. How does it really help? So say example, you have a client and then you have a database, and then you want to like kind of find out the latency between the database and the client, or between the two systems, and find out where the problem is and fix it, right? APM could literally literally take the help of APM and then try to solve this problem. And then like you also sometimes have some specific error codes or the issues which are intermittent in nature, but you want to definitely debug them, or you reproduce them in-house. I meant to say inside your organization, but when it goes to the customer always reports that bug or a issue, but you'll not be able to find that out, right? That's a bug that is hiding and playing with you, so you would want to find that. So that is one other thing to look at. So basically, like APM does a ton of things, and it's a best developer tool that I would definitely that you could take help. And APM is also free and open source. So basically it records all the traces for your database queries, external HTTP requests, slow operations that are happening in your microservice deployment or application. Then you will also be able to see the errors that are present in your application, say whether the errors are like is it like when it is occurred and which code point the error did occur. Say if you see a typecast exception or a number format exception in, and then you want to find out where did it occur, right? You want to go to the exception trace. So APM shows you all the errors very easily. I'll show you how the errors are collected, exceptions are collected, and then you also you will obviously be able to do the find out the performance bottlenecks and then errors for your customers. APM will also be like, if you do all of this, right, you would already be like, end of the day, you will be easily able to do the coding, deploy, and you have a best friend to kind of find out your bugs, right? So to increase the productivity of your development team, this is also a fantastic tool to implement in your application architecture. Now APM is 100% open source. The agents, the server, and obviously Elasticsearch is an open source search engine. You could simply, the UI is ready made. You could also download and use the UI in the Kibana. We have a specific app for APM. I'll show you that. Then you also have language agents. When I say language agents, these are not installers, these are jars. So for example, for Java, it's a jar. For Node, it's a package. For Python, it's a package. So for say, you could just simply download it from the Maven Central, and then like put it in your pom.xml, and then like it and bootstrap it, and then like ship it out. So when you're making an Docker container of your application, you could do that. But also you can inject it like a Java agent in the JVM config. So you could open the JVM options and like push it and like try to do that as well. So that is one another wonderful thing to look at. And we support a host of other languages. We also support now like the Go is there. We also have a PHP agent in the plan. So a lot of things with respect to that as well. How it basically works: so you have an application library, say a Java app, and which is having some APIs and is being deployed, and then you package your application with the APM agent, and then the application library kind of like helps you to do all of this actually. So more importantly, if you want to like ship data from that application library, you'll be able to do more of this very easily. Say that that all the data is being shipped up to the APM server, and then it will be obviously put into a proper documents, and it will be like kind of shipped to the Elasticsearch server. Now the dashboards and there are dashboards and there are different sort of UI which helps you to like kind of find out a lot of these details. Now quickly going into more deeper topics into the APM, I would like to simply check if there are any questions. So please do ask questions in between. Happy to answer see if you are having any questions, please do ask. Happy to answer them in between as well if there is related slide that I could bring it up. So distributed tracing is one another concept which is very popular in the APM or the application space, wherein if you have a microservice based application, and then you want to specifically like kind of debug the application. Say you have different teams, each team has using a different language for the specific reason. Say somebody is using React for the front end application, Node.js for the back end immediately, and then like people are using Python for something, and then like you have some other language, say something like obviously like Java for some APIs. So it will put the entire trace in a microservice application. As you know, the services interact with each other and share data in between them, and so that like the purpose is served, the application transaction could be completed. So this entire UI that you are seeing is like a specific method called update owner, and then like it's calling an API, and then like API is calling another language API. I mean like pet clinic node, so it's calling another API, and through which you will be able to transfer the data and do a lot of these things. So and then you will also be able to see the SQL question, the SQL part of it as well. So that is one another thing to look at. So there are many interesting things that you can instrument. You can find the data in an interesting manner. So talking more about distributed tracing, there is one another advantage with APM. APM is just another Elasticsearch index. You will be able to kind of like customize your data, the dashboards and visuals to show what you want And you will also be able to do machine learning on top of the data. So how machine learning would help? If you have that question, I would simply tell you that if say that there are specific intermittent issues, there are specific network spikes that are happening, or memory leaks that are happening, or special other details that you want to find out proactively, or you want to squash out that bug, you could use like kind of APM machine learning in combination, and we provide that in the stack, and you could do that very easily. Now you could also get started very easily. So here is an example of how I said for Java you could definitely use Maven Central. For something like Django or a Flask or Python based applications, you could simply copy the data and put that. So what I meant to say is not just for a specific language, it's an open source tool that you could use it anywhere and stream it to Elasticsearch, and it can do wonders for you. Now, I definitely know that there are specific questions that many people ask. Many people have doubts related to like what is a span, what is a transaction, how does it really work. So we have a specific APM terminology that I could tell you here. Say that you have a request, like somebody has asked, okay, I want top 10. See, that's a specific ID, and this API request, it's a transaction end to end, right? And then in between you have multiple services that are interacting coming in that transaction. Say it is requesting a specific front end server, then it is interacting with a database server, then it is interacting with a SQL server, then the entire end to end goal will be returned in a response. So how much time did it take, and how did it fall in? So that is where the tracing, transaction, and span terminology would come in. So APM is perfectly suitable to be used in production environments. It's a completely GA'd product, so you could use it in the production. So from the point of distributed tracing, if I have to tell you, so you have two such services. Say you have a service A which is doing Node.js, and you have service B which is a Java service. And then if you want to correlate these two services and find out what is being exchanged in between them, by still keeping the kind of like entire trace in that respective languages, this is called distributed tracing. So this is, you have multiple services, you have a network call going through the particular service, and then you have individual spans between each service. So this is how it gets a bit little complex as you go by in the microservices world, where you have say 5 different teams, like the people, employees working in your organization, each team responsible for a specific service. I'll show you some of this very quickly so that you will be able to understand what I'm really speaking about. So this is another important thing to note. Like distributed tracing is a very usable, or like very popular concept in the APM world and everything. So to be frank, like if you are looking for let us take an example of something like fence jump service, right, where a specific thing is like jumping the fence, and then for the first fence it took 1 second, second 2, third 2, and fourth fence it took like 2.5 seconds, right? You have cumulatively, you started aggregating how much time it took. But then suppose in this situation wherein the cob falls apart in the first fence, then you want to definitely find out the error, or definitely find out why it didn't reach the end goal, right? Why couldn't jump all the fences. So this is where you could definitely find out the APM really helpful. So I'll quickly go through the demo, because the demo is very important, right? I have a specific application which is per se like very easy to understand as well. It's an e-commerce shop. So I have an e-commerce shop application, and then I have a product catalog. Obviously I have a checkout service, I have an ad service, I have a load generator which is generating load for my application right now, and entire thing is being run in Kubernetes, obviously. And then I also have an email service, payment service, shipping service, cart service, currency service, because I am there in multiple geos, so different currencies. Then I also have a recommendation service which recommends products when people buy for it. So this is how the overall the architecture looks like when you try to access it from the internet. So, and this is how the UI looks like. So this app is also open source. It's open source by a specific it's on a GitHub repo, it's on Google Cloud, I believe, and you could also go and check out. It's a hipster shop when you have a multiple products, and you could buy one of them, and like there is a detailed pages. It's a very well written microservice app which contains all the languages. So I'll quickly show you Kibana. So in the interest of time, what I'll do is I'll quickly show Kibana, and then I'll walk you through how it looks like on the real way. So this is Kibana. So Kibana has changed over a period of time. There is a black mode as well, so that's why I specifically want to use this particular mode, so that you could go and find out things here. So if I have to tell you, here there are a bunch of apps, and we are also trying to bring it very closely for you. Say you have logs, metrics, APM, uptime apps, which is like an observability solution through which you will be able to do correlate, look into many things. So I'll quickly click on the APM part, wherein I didn't tell you how the data is being shipped here. So if you could see, there are this sort of logo, right? This is APM logo actually. So which is shipping the data to Elasticsearch or the APM server or the stack actually. Say it is running in specific cloud, say GCP, and then the data is being shipped out to a specific cloud, and that is what we are seeing here in the form of the data. So now each service here is represented with a name, say we have cart service, ad service, currency service. Similarly, so because each agent ships out with a unique ID for that service, how many Docker containers you might have when an app is running, say ad service is running 15 Docker containers, and each has a common ID, say ad service. So we are seeing an ad service. Now again, you see there are multiple agents here, there are Go, Node.js, Python, which interact. There is also different environments here, say some of them are development environments. You could also say QA, staging, production as well. So ad service is service that we are interested in because it's Java service, and you could do some traces, etc. You could always find out services with respect to the host because it's running Kubernetes. You'll also be able to find out with respect to the kind of filters as well. Now I'll quickly click on the ad service. I don't know whether you'll be able to see you are able to see the the search part here, but most importantly, you'll be able to search transactions, find out things, and do more as well. So you could search, simply say that which say status code, and say click on that, and then you'll be able to find out the status codes, which I 500, 401, 403, 503. You can find out everything. So let me quickly click on the ad service, and so there is some error. I think probably there's an internet error. I think I'll just refresh for a while. So what happens is you'll be able to see the kind of the entire trace of that application that has come in, and you'll be also be able to see specific information related to how the this thing has been executed. So I think there is an error looking at things. Let me go and click on some other services. Great. So is there a front end? Yes, I'll go and click on the front end, and here we go. So you could also find out other transactions, etc. So say time spent by span type, how much each span has taken. So you will also be able to see when there is a spike. Say if I'm seeing a spike here, you'll also be able to see what is wrong or how things can be better. I just scraped that spike so that I could see what's happening in this area. So you'll also be able to see that what is the specific request, and the entire thing gets filtered as you kind of see. So I'm just again looking at more deeper evaluation of that thing. So and then you'll be able to see that product handler is taking more amount of time to kind of look into the data. So I'll quickly click onto the product handler, and then you'll be able to see that it is calling a specific service called get product, hipster shop dot catalog service get product, and then it is leading into the get cart, and get cart query in the database is taking quite a bit of time. And you'll also be able to see, I'm sorry for the black thing here. So here you could see that there's a specific metadata, stack trace, etc. that you'll be able to find out the details. So you'll also be able to do alerts from this point of time and like find out what's going wrong and what are the various other things as well. So that way you'll be able to find out the errors as well. So suppose if I have checkout and then click on errors. Here there are no errors, but all the errors will be displayed here. Let me find out if I could find some error and show it to you in the code as well. See, let me find out the add service and then, okay. I think there are no errors for some of the services that I have. So, but let me find out. Okay, it's fine. So it doesn't contain errors. So sometimes you can replicate errors as well. So this is some things that you could go and look at and find out whether the distributed tracing is happening. You will also be seeing a timeline here wherein you see which request is taking more amount of time. So 0 millisecond, not much of your kind of like interest, but probably if your request is taking 1600 millisecond, which is nearly like say a second or so, right? You might want to take a look at it. Which request is taking? If you click on that, it will convert and show you which request has taken more amount of time, and then you can be able to debug this particular thing and do more of that sort. So that is one another interesting area to look at, wherein you'll be able to find and figure out things by yourself. So APM also provides integrations to logs, so that from APM to logs to metrics, it's all connected towards in one platform. So you'll also be able to find out which container is problem, restart that container, do all the opsy things that you want to do, everything is possible. So that is one another way to look at things. So you don't need to go see several times when I see issues, I'll simply go ahead and find out SSH to that machine, open VI and like open that thing and try to find error and like simply type error and then look it for the entries. So I'll try to find out. So this is one another way that you can find and look at things as well. So I'm just trying to explain you in that manner as well. So I'll also try to show you the metrics part, so that if you are interested, you can go and explore this. And all of this data is coming from your APM agent and the bits. There is no third-party thing that we are using. We are using the existing APMs, existing APIs for the Docker, Kubernetes to collect all of this data. So specifically, you could see containers here, when you'll be able to see multiple containers. Which containers is a bit overloaded. Obviously, there are some application containers which are at a different level. You'll also be able to see, that is host, and these are containers. I'm sorry, we have a lot of containers. And then you can also group by say namespace. Say if you have multiple namespaces, and then observe is a demo that we are looking at. If you could see that there are multiple things, but observe is a demo. Then if I click on that, it will open up and show me which container is taking, and then I can go to the specific APM trace or metrics, or even whether the application is running properly, the Java service that I have is running or not. I'll be able to find out that as well. So there are many interesting things that you could find out with this particular, the solution, observability solution that you have. Now I'll quickly come back and walk you through some things in the interest of time that we are already like way into the session. So I'll just also take some questions, and so that we can learn more. So APM can monitor your application, trace your code, reduce your overall debugging time. And then APM can also be like improve your application traceability like process, and finding out issues and different things. So you could do that. There are many things that you could achieve by unifying all of this data. So what we are trying to do is like try to build one central single pane of glass, and so that you could do everything and anything in debugging, finding out issues, everything from one single point of time or single place. So you don't need to get more and more information and areas. So that is one another thing to look at. So both dev and as well as ops team, or even the administration teams, or even the product owners, or even the managers, directors, anybody can collect information. Suppose if your manager or someone is very interested in finding out say the application should take 8 milliseconds to load, and if they want to find out that metric, right? And take, if you are running a SaaS service, say software as a service, and then you'll be able to like do that as well using Kibana. So it's an end-to-end solution, so that you will be able to, and everything is free and open here, so that is very easy to get started. So these are the various tools that you would be able to do. We also have a RUM agent, which I didn't talk about entirely. Real user monitoring is one another interesting aspect, so that you could go and look at things as well. So that is one another way to look at your application from the browser point of view. What's happening in the browser in the wake of something like React and etc. It's getting completely changed. Now then, in the application level, you have APM agents, which we discussed today. At server level, how we are bringing about all the Kubernetes metrics and all the Docker level information. We have beats, which is another open module, so that you can open app like product that you can go and do it. Then you also have a logging. Obviously, you have Logstash and again some other beats like FileBeat, through which you will be able to find out the logs, etc. So this is a link. You could go and get all the resources. I'll put this in the chat as well, so that you will be able to get the resources. So don't worry about it. I'll paste it here. It's also already shown. It's also pasted. So I'll do that. But if you want to get started, have questions, you could start with a trial in the cloud. So in the cloud, and then you can spin up and try all of this by yourself, without me or somebody else telling. You can go and figure out pretty easily. You can deploy it on AWS or GCP or Azure. You could deploy it without even thinking about any hardware. How do I build this? So all your hardware things is done. So you just need to like kickstart things in this manner. So that being said, that brings to the end of the session, and we do have good amount of time to take questions. And I did cover a bit of stuff, but also like left enough time so that we can take questions. So yeah, so these are the coordinates. If you want to reach out, discuss.elastic.co is the technical forum through which you will be able to ask question, and we will answer it. The community will answer it, not just people from Elastic. Then here you go, my email address. I'm always available on my Twitter DM, so that you could DM me and like follow me for all the updates related to any technology related to like observability, search, or even security. Yeah. So any questions? Let me see if there are any questions. Let me refresh. Okay, there are no questions at this point of time, but there's one question that has been asked, and I did reply that APM is suitable or recommended to be used in production environments. Yes, we GA'd it last year, and then it's been so popular, and many people already use it in their production environments. Yes. APM also, in a way, if I have to tell you, Kubernetes has something called Jaeger, which also does tracing. So APM server is compatible to the Jaeger, so that you can ingest traces from Jaeger as well. So that's another very interesting and easy thing to look at actually. So any more questions that you have? Great. I see one more question. Any best practice on onboarding APM on the microservices? So one best practice I would definitely tell you is like APM ships a lot of data. So you have a Java container, and then or Java application, and you're trying to ship application related metrics and all the tracing thing. What happens is you end up shipping probably per day few GBs of data, like more than 10 or 20 GB as well sometimes. So sample the modules. You could also say that if you have a class, and say that if you have a specific methods, like say create products, and which has multiple sub methods, you can only trace those methods that you want to trace. You don't need to trace the entire application that you have. Say you have multiple services running, and you have common entry point. You don't need to put it in a common entry point. You can also annotate and trace specific code as well. So that is even possible. So don't think that you need to sample everything. It might overload. That is one best practice that I could recommend. take a look at the documentation. So we have very extensive documentation both for the the entire application performance framework and the observability side. So I'll quickly go and show you the documentation so you could get started. Say this is APM overview, how do you install and run, how to get started with different things. So but I would definitely recommend that keep the data in mind as you get started. Yeah. Any other questions? Just trying to kind of find questions. Okay, so we have a lot of time. If you want to ask questions, you can ask here. I would reply again here with the links and everything once the session is completed. I'll also post my coordinates. I'll also post this the presentation is already live on internet, and it's already present. I'll post the links as well so that you could access it and request whenever you want. So that is also there. So any other questions if you have? So the new feature that is gonna come in the APM space is service maps. So you would obviously have something that helps you to take a look at how the applications are visually connected and which application is lagging. So you have something like a map on which all the application and the connections between them are laid out, and then like you will see which application is taking more load. So this is more from the point of from the point of looking at how your application is structured, not just however I showed the Kubernetes containers. This is similarly that way, but in a much better manner. So that probably helps a lot of people who want to find out the data that is getting transferred in between the applications as well. So in a very complex enterprise application, it might be much bigger. So any other questions that you have? So that's great, I think. Great. If you don't have any questions, I'm happy to help, and the coordinates are given. So what we'll do is we'll get started quickly, and I'll probably show you the links one more time if you want to take note of it, and then we can discuss offline, take all the questions offline as well. So yeah, this is a link to get started. These are the link for the resources, and yeah, thanks for the session. Thanks for community Java Z-Day and all the speakers that are going to speak today about more interesting developments in the Java and stuff. Enjoy the session. Have a nice day.